Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rocksmith Encore. As you can see, we're firing on all pistons today. If you're not familiar with the concept of Rocksmith Encore, let me tell you what it is. It's basically whatever the heck we want it to be. Here at Rocksmith, we generally put a lot of time into creating songs that you can download into the game and learn how to play guitar by learning how to play your favorite songs. But, of course, there is much more to the world of guitar than just songs. There's history, there's gear, there's all kinds of crazy things. And sometimes there's technique and there's actual knowledge. And that's what Greg Studley is going to attempt to teach me, Dan Amrich, your community developer, today. Greg, it has often been said that my mind is like a sponge, which is it occasionally leaks fluid and smells after about 2 weeks. But you happen to be an expert, would you say? Is it fair to say you're an expert?
Always striving to be better, however.
Okay.
Yes.
In the field of improvisation, specifically. So much so that you are a published author.
Yes.
And, oh, look, here's a bookshelf with a book.
Well, how did that get
A
there?
Guitarist's Guide to Improvising with Knowledge by Greg Studley, improvisingwithknowledge.com. So this is, there we go. How about without a shine on it? So this is not even the only book you've done. You've done, what, 4 books on guitar improvisation?
Yeah, not all on improvisation. Some for rhythm guitar, some for guitar warm-ups, and then there's this as well.
Okay,
And
so
another
this
one
is
for
just
bass warm-ups.
This is just one of your many books.
I try to share, yes.
So you actually, when we said, of course, we're always looking for more interesting stuff to do here on the show, this was when you're like, oh, can I do something on improvisation? I said, certainly.
Definitely. Yeah.
But I will tell you, I'm pretty scared because I do not consider myself a lead guitarist, and I do not believe in my own power to make stuff up on the spot that sounds musical and tasteful and matches everything else.
Understandable. And the reason why people get scared on this is because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're without any kind of idea of how to apply what you might already know into something that you're creating on the spot.
Right.
Incredibly difficult.
Well, to me, it's all brand new all the time, right?
Not
Like,
as
no
much
matter
as you
what.
think.
Okay.
Because we're gonna find out what you know, and we're gonna branch off of it.
That'll
because
be the short first section. Okay,
that's
cool.
the idea. Most people know more than they think.
Okay.
That's really where we're gonna start.
Okay. So here's where I'm going to start. Today we will be giving away some codes. Gosh darn this. Am I sitting on the I think I'm sitting on the cable. We're going to be giving away some DLC codes throughout the show. Our community representative, Black Widow 9, is in our chat room now. Say hi to Tawny, everybody. And Tawny is going to give those codes away when she sees fit over the next course of the hour or so that we'll be talking and hopefully learning how to play guitar better. So if you are just here for the free stuff, good stuff, good news. We have plenty of free stuff for you to figure out. I will not be able to check a lot of the chat live as it happens, but Tawny will be cutting and pasting as many interesting questions as she can into a document that I can read and review over here just off camera in the magic of computers. So I will do my best to attempt to answer any feedback. Like, for instance, can Greg get closer to his mic? I suspect that he can.
Indeed.
Yeah, there we go. So thank you for that kind of feedback. But I will be asking questions because I literally don't know what I'm doing, and I'm putting my faith in Greg on what's going on here. But I will also attempt to answer to surface as many of your questions as humanly possible as we get going. Look at this. No strings attached. Well, actually, the strings are attached, but no safety straps anymore. That's gone.
You won't need it.
Yeah, all right. So with that in mind, thanks for being here. There's opportunities to win, and there's opportunities to learn, and there's opportunities to ask questions, and we'll handle all of that over the course of the next hour. But I'm going to let Greg kick this off. Knowing what you're getting into, where do you want to start?
I think we should start by explaining what improvising is.
Okay, good.
So for those of you that are unaware, the whole idea is when you are in the middle of a song and a solo section pops up, you always have really 2 options in front of you. One of them being, I'm going to play what I've already composed. I'm going to play a solo that I know. I'm going to just insert it here. I know it'll work. And the other option, which adds a little more creativity and a little more fun, is I'm going to make something up right here, right now. That is improvising. The truth is, you're not really making everything up right there. You have a lot of things you've practiced. You know, it's not all new information. You're kind of combining the information that you've already understood in new ways. That's maybe a better way to think about it.
All right, so it's really you've got you're making up the recipe as you go along, but you're using ingredients that you already have in the fridge.
That's what practicing's all about, so that you can grab them
Okay.
later. Yeah.
All right.
So what we're going to do with improvising
I'm 50%
with knowledge,
less terrified, by the way. Now, that's good.
We're going to use what you know.
Okay, this is going to be a short lesson, Greg.
I can stretch it out. It's fine. So what we use for this, for improvising, is scales. So I'm assuming most people know, but in case we don't, the idea of scales is a sequence of notes that is often used to create melodies and therefore also to create solos in songs. Every great solo you've heard is scale-based. You can always, dumb it down into the player used this scale for this span of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know what scale or scales you know, Dan, because that's our starting point.
All right, I know the quote-unquote white boy blues scale, right? So if I'm up, if you can give me a little audio.
Now, what would you call that scale, other than the white boy
Yeah.
scale?
This is the growing up in the suburbs listening to Eric Clapton scale.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a pentatonic.
It is.
But I don't know if it's a major or minor pentatonic, honestly. And I think I'm also throwing in some grace notes. Like, I don't actually believe that that passing note is in there. I think it's...
You are correct. Now, what you're playing there with the additional notes is actually also a scale. It's more commonly called the blues scale.
Right.
What we'll stick to today is more of the pentatonic scale. And
Okay.
the pentatonic scale is a little bit easier to remember because you have 2 notes per string. That's it.
Right.
So it's always kind of an easier pattern to think through then.
So is it pentatonic because there's 5 notes in the scale?
Yes.
Okay.
Pent meaning 5,
Right.
pentagon. So, yes. The
See,
pentatonic
Latin
scale,
I understand. Guitar, not so much.
We'll see.
All right.
I'm going to prove you wrong on that.
Good.
Okay, so what you were playing, what note were you thinking about when you placed it on there? If I was to say choose a note on the guitar that
Well,
you're thinking this is centralized
I'm
around,
going to
what would
start
you
with
choose?
the A, the very first note in that scale, the lowest
Excellent.
one. And I know
And there's another
that
one.
there's 3. So I know where the A's are. In between, I am not thinking at all about what those notes are. I'm just thinking about how I know it should sound from having goofed around with that scale for years. So I couldn't tell you what the other notes are in the scale. at
Okay,
all.
no, that's fine. You don't actually
I know
have
when
to know
I'm
that.
in the scale, but I don't know what I'm playing.
You don't necessarily have to know the notes within each of the scales in order to make this work. And
Okay.
that's the good thing, because a lot of guitar players do not read music. We, do not understand notes on a music staff. But you don't actually need that to apply this.
Okay.
What you need is an understanding of the shape. And that's what you have, is an understanding of this shape. That shape is going to be all we're going to work with. But it's going
Okay.
to take us very far.
All right.
So here's how it works.
All right.
You are correct in calling that A the central note. That was a note you started on. It is also the root of the scale if you are going to call that an A minor pentatonic scale.
Okay.
So
That's
you
the official name, is the A minor pentatonic in
That's
this
correct.
case.
Yes. So we're going to see why that works over A minor. So if I'm to play an A minor chord and you were going to play that scale, we're going to actually assess every note. And we're going to categorize it into 3 groups.
Okay.
There's either going to be notes that sound very good, notes that sound okay, and notes that outright sound bad.
I can play all 3 of those. I'm pretty sure.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an A minor chord, and I want you to play each of the notes of that scale, and with every one of them label it. It's either a very good note, it's an okay note,
Okay.
or it's a bad
within the
note.
scale, not straying from the scale.
Nope, just play
okay.
play every note in order and then label it. But listen
Okay.
to what I'm playing as
Yes.
your reference of how it sounds combined with the chord.
Okay.
So here's your A minor chord. Start with the first note. Tell me how you think it sounds.
Sounds perfect. Sounds great.
Great note.
That should be there. That's the
Mhm.
root. Kind of not really belonging there. Like, I would say that's a no.
Is it a bad note? Like, does it sound dissonant and bad, or does it sound okay? 'Cause there's also the okay group.
I guess it does sound okay.
It sounds okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going. I would agree. That's an okay note.
That does not sound right to me. Is this just revealing how little I know?
No, this is just your ear telling you things. Now remember, bad should sound actually bad, like you want to stop playing it. Think about bad as like, I don't want to hear this
Oh,
anymore.
well then no. Then this sounds okay.
That's an okay note. You'll understand a bad note
This
when you hear
sounds
it.
okay because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, these all sound fine to me.
Every note is either a great note or an okay note.
Okay.
That's the reason why we want to use this for soloing. There are no bad
There's
notes.
no bad notes as long as you
Nothing
stay
sounds
within
bad.
that box.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Because I'm sort of mixing up dissonant with just not optimal. That's why
No,
I'm like,
that's-
well, this one sounds bad.
that's fair. No, I mean, tension and release is the core of music.
Okay.
So some of those notes are more tense. Now, if we were to look at the scale, and this would be a great time if we can get that image up. So if we have the A minor pentatonic scale picture any moment now. Excellent. So if we have our A minor pentatonic scale picture, the notes that are filled in, I know we sometimes refer to them as like the safe notes in the image. Those are the chord tones. Those are the same notes that I'm playing. So the notes that you're finding that sound the best are because I'm also playing them.
Okay.
The notes that you're finding sound okay are notes that are not in the chord, but don't clash with the chord.
Okay.
And this is kind of why it's all working. You don't really have to know all that. I'm just letting people know. But
This
it's
is
good
an
to-
educational
it's good
stream.
to know.
It's okay.
So
And I should point out that the image that we have there of this this scale, this is a minor pentatonic, right?
A minor pentatonic.
And this
yes.
is specifically A minor because it's on the 5th fret in our example.
That is
and
correct.
this is, of course, a screenshot from session mode in Rocksmith. So if you want to work on scales and you want to work on improvisation, that's kind of why session mode was built. So when you see this is a tool that you have that you can use as you see fit based on whatever Greg is offering today. So just if you're wondering what the origin is, it's something you have. Use it.
Most certainly.
So, okay.
Okay, so now what we're going to have you do is apply this, which is I'm going to play an A minor chord. You make up some stuff over. You improvise some ideas. Again, it doesn't have to be stuff you've never played before because
Right.
you've been playing for a long time and you have
Right.
some ideas that you're like, oh, I know this finger pattern is going to sound good, so I'm going to use it.
Sure. What I have
So
is
feel free to
habits,
use it.
whether they're good or bad.
Sure.
Fine. But yeah, I have habits from just
That is
goofing
your
along.
style.
Okay.
Our habits become our
Oh,
style.
I don't know if I've gotten that evolved yet, but I understand what you're saying. How's that?
Fair enough. So I'm just going to lay down a groove in A minor.
Okay.
And you just play over it.
All right.
And it can be whatever you want. As long as it fits within that box, you're going to be all safe notes. 'Cause
Okay.
everything we just tested, every note's going to sound good.
All right. I have half a mind to just go down half a one fret.
I'm out of here. That's it. That's it. We're done.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. No, I promise I'll play
No. It's
on purpose in the correct
That's okay.
scale now.
It's if you go down a half step, so will I.
Yeah, that's true. It's
I'll
not
just-
like I can lose you.
At this point, I'll just move
You're
with
not
you.
like,
It's
yeah,
fine.
a rookie cop in a chase scene. It's like, no. That's like my,
There you go.
well, that's my crappiest. That's the stock thing that I do all the time.
That's not a bad idea, though.
Well, I feel like I'm falling down the stairs, but hitting every step correctly. Like because I'm starting at the highest thing in the scale, and then I land on the root again
Okay, so this is interesting. Why do you always land on the root then when you play it?
because it sounds right, because it feels right, because it feels like I've made a complete musical statement. It's like finishing a sentence with a period and making sure that there's an object, a sentence, an object and a target and a verb, a subject and a verb. I'm good with the words, as you know. I have history as a writer.
Indeed.
So yeah, it just feels like that's where it wants to resolve,
As it should if you want to create a period at the end of the sentence. Now,
which
watch
I often do.
So do me a favor. You play the A minor chord, and just give me some kind of groove to work with. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to end with a period. If I end on that note, we're good. Just keep the groove going. So that's one riff. Now I'm going to end it with a question mark. I'm going to end it with a comma leading into the next sentence.
Yes.
It's very verbal. Everything that you play can be thought of as sentences becoming paragraphs, becoming a story.
This is the greatest analogy you could ever make for me personally.
As a writer, no, I bet that actually is hitting home then. Yeah.
Suddenly it's like, oh, okay, so yes.
But
All
you
right,
take
yeah.
one riff and you end it differently, and it has a totally different,
Sure.
sound that it's creating for
Well,
the
when
listener.
when you ended it with a question, were you in the scale?
Yes, I was in the
You were
scale
in the scale.
entire
You were
time.
just in a place that isn't normally.
I just didn't end on the
You,
root.
you just didn't resolve to the root. Okay.
So if you don't, I mean,
because it felt like something else was coming. It felt like you were not done the solo. You were like, well, I still have more to
Yes.
say, and I'm gonna keep you waiting for it.
which is why if you want to sound like you are done,
go to the root.
Go to the root. That is your I'm finished note.
It is the safety. Like I kind of find myself that when I just noodle, I want to go back to the root a lot just to remind people I'm doing this on purpose. You know, like I know where I am.
There's nothing wrong with reinforcing that note. It's not at all a bad idea to reinforce the root for both yourself and for the listener, because that is that is you saying,
helps ground
and we're
them.
still okay, and now I'm going to tell you some more stuff.
Does it become a bad habit to always resolve to the root, though? Like, does it become boring at a certain point? Like, I know you're going to A.
You'd be surprised how many of the most popular solos, that's where they eventually end up.
Okay.
Like in the middle, they might toy with that root and play past it. They might almost get to that root and then not quite get there. They might, throw one of these in.
Right.
And there it is.
I want that note.
It makes people wait for it.
Right.
So, you're essentially giving the listener as much as you want.
Right.
And you don't necessarily want to give the listener everything. Sometimes you want to give them a bit.
Right.
And by doing that with your voice is the same as going. That is the idea. So now you were correctly, assessing this as being a minor pentatonic scale.
It's only because I've read it in the past, and it's like, okay, that must be minor pentatonic.
There's the flip side.
You ask me to do a Mixolydian, I wouldn't know, which frets to hit. I just know the names, but I don't know what they mean.
No, that's fair. So the minor seems totally comfortable for you, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But now if I said, okay, now you're going to solo over a C major chord.
I would know. I would be able to tell when they were in the C major shape, but I would not know which frets were in which notes were in there. Like
Okay.
I would know by trying to play the minor and then making it sound happy by just moving around a little bit. So you wanted C major,
Yeah.
you say?
So take a moment, figure out where your hand would want to fall. So if I'm going to play a C major chord,
No, I've got it. Yeah.
then you probably want to go to if you can use a similar type of shape, that would be my guess for you.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. I'm like, where the hell is C on the low E string? Let's see, E, D, C. Okay, there we go.
And you found it.
Yeah.
So watch this. Assess all the notes. No, assess if you do the same finger pattern.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and
Play the pentatonic scale that I was playing, but playing it in a different key.
How are your notes sounding? Are you finding any notes that are outright bad?
No. It's just like it starts in a different place.
So try this. Play each one, and before you go to the next note, assess it. Tell me if you find any bad ones.
This is not bad. That's not bad because it creates tension.
Well, I mean, so does that.
Yes, but it makes me go like that. Yeah, there's nothing that's making me do the I just drank too much lemon juice face.
How about that note?
Well, it's not great.
Right, so you start.
I don't know if it's bad or not, though, because now I'm doubting.
It's all personal opinion too about what we like to hear in solos and in melodies.
Sure.
So
it's fine going through it,
right?
but it's got to
on a
be
note.
like a quick hop there.
So the interesting thing is with the A minor, you didn't really second guess any of the notes, and here you're kind of like, well, this one's not quite sounding like the other one was. So watch this. Go back to your A minor pentatonic scale, and I'm going to play a C chord.
Okay.
Now it seems like these two things are not going to make any sense because I'm playing a different chord than the scale
Greg,
you are playing.
A isn't C. Come on.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah, they're totally different letters. I'm a word guy. Trust me. Okay.
I know my alphabet. Tell me if you find any bad notes. There's none.
No.
Why? Because you're playing a C major pentatonic scale now.
Okay, so this is the same thing but with a different name.
So here's the best
Because of
way
the context.
Yes, because of the context and the note that you would call the root. So a good way to think about it is A minor pentatonic scale, you're starting with the first finger. Now, if we were to pull up a picture of like the C major pentatonic scale,
Are we going to do that?
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
That was a cue.
I didn't.
If so, then the idea is this becomes your root. So you have a minor root and you have a major root within that finger pattern. So think about it like here's your finger pattern. And I'm calling this note my root, which same as that note.
Sure.
I'm playing a minor pentatonic scale. But if I do this and start from this note and refer to this note as being my root.
Because that's the only one that really sounded weird to me, was starting on that A.
Now watch, what note is your finger playing? Your fourth finger. It's on a C.
It's on a C. So you start
That's
with
your
a
C major pentatonic scale now.
Okay, so at this point, like, cue the gif of the guy looking at all the math and trying to see but then why the hell do we have multiple scales?
Great point. So, no. So the notes are the same between the two scales, right? But
Right.
if your chord is major, you want to think about it as a type of major scale. If your chord is minor, you want to think about it as a minor scale. That way, you're not superimposing the idea of minor over a chord that's major. So a great way to think
Okay.
about it is like a C chord pops up in your face. Okay, I need to solo over a C chord. Which is the easier way to think about it from that point? Okay, C major pentatonic. Or, okay, so C major, that's the same thing as A minor. I'm going to use an A minor pentatonic.
Okay.
The thought process is faster if the two things are correlated.
Okay.
So you can now solo over a C major chord and have all your notes being contacted
As long
with
as
the
as
chord.
long as I start in a place that sounds comfortable to me.
No, you now know all of your available notes because
Okay.
it's all the same available notes as your A minor. Now here's the funny
Right.
part: the note that you would normally resolve to as your root is no longer your root.
No.
Your root is now a different note.
It's C.
It is C. So you have a root here. You have a root up here with two places on your E strings, both of them being the same.
Right.
And you have now a root here in the middle with your first finger. Yeah.
Okay.
So you now have three available roots. Now you'll have the same thing. If you resolve to one of those three notes, you'll sound like you're done with your context of what you are trying to say in your solo.
Okay.
And if you resolve to a different note, it just means you got more to say.
I guess I got more to say.
And
whether,
so if you-
whether I like it or not at that point, because
Yeah.
it's my responsibility to land the plane, is what I always say. Like, you know, soloing is like you're landing a plane. Like you're up there, you're taking everybody with you.
I'm your
I like
co-pilot.
mixing messages too. You know,
I'm
like
your co-pilot.
sometimes it's words, sometimes it's falling down the stairs, sometimes it's landing a plane.
A little bit of turbulence along the way isn't always a bad thing.
Well, I thought that was jazz.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of turbulence.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to play a C major groove for you.
All right.
Now you can solo in a C major.
And I can
So-
I can play that same shape, which is
Same-
the A minor pentatonic
same
shape,
finger
but
pattern,
in the
just-
context of C.
Every note's going to sound a little different than it would over A minor because the chord's different.
Sure.
And so, you know, the notes that you would normally call the perfect notes over A minor are now going to be the good notes,
Okay.
not necessarily the perfect ones anymore.
Okay.
So, here's a little bit of volume down for you.
There we go. That was all I had
That's
to
a
say.
good note.
Just start. No, I'm starting and ending on the root. So one note solo.
It's been done.
Here's me scared to get off the goddamn root.
That's okay. I mean, you'll find it. You'll find your way back. Okay, now you can hear what this sounds like.
Yeah.
Now do this. Now move back up
very
to the
happy.
8th fret. And now listen to the sound difference when you now go to the scale that you would have thought.
Right. Like
I-
just do.
Now you'll hear a big difference between how consonant the notes were sounding at the 5th fret as opposed to how they're now going to be sounding at the 8th fret.
Okay.
You hear the difference in it? There's more tension.
Yeah.
Still find good notes in there, but
Yeah.
they're not all good notes.
They're not
anymore.
all good notes,
Yes.
but the good notes stand out a little bit better.
Yes.
So-
So it very much does depend on what kind of sound you want to create. That is the blues style of playing, which is
Right.
actually major type of chord with minor type of scale. Funny thing is, sometimes people overuse it, and then regardless of the genre of music they're playing in, it sounds like they're playing blues.
True.
So if you want to, I mean, in blues, that is the way to go. That is actually
Sure.
a very signature sound. But if you're playing in another genre, if you're playing folk music, or even if you're playing more rock type stuff, you're usually going to kind of find that the chord and the scale are going to match.
Okay.
Major chord is going to go with major scale. So let's now take this and move it to another spot.
Okay.
So now you know about the major pentatonic scale. Now what if we wanted to plant it at F?
I'd
How
say
would we
hold the
find-
F on because I want to actually double check and see if there's any really interesting. Before we move on
This
too
is
much
actually
further.
this is a great spot to do it.
And also to reset, hi everyone, you're watching Rocksmith Encore. My name's Dan Amrick, I'm the community developer. This is Greg Studley, one of our note trackers, who has also, it's that one, sorry, I don't know which camera I'm looking at, who is also the author of A Guitarist's Guide to Improvising with Knowledge, which you may have remembered from hearing the name of today's stream. And Rocksmith Encore is our chance to branch out from just showing what the latest songs are available in Rocksmith. And we have folks that are passionate about different guitar things, whether it be gear or history or instruction or technique. And we take this opportunity to go over some of that stuff because there's always something else to learn. And if people want to teach it, well, we want to give them the platform to do it. Let me take a real quick look. So how much of this, asks BizChicken7783,
good friend of mine.
how much of this is going to be able to be applied to other instruments?
All of it, with the exception of the placement of it. So if we're talking about it purely in a note-based system, like could you take the idea of a pentatonic scale moving across chords and apply it to a saxophone? And the answer is yes. Could you apply it to a piano? The answer is yes.
So the theory is sound across the board. It's
Yes.
just a question of the mechanics and how you interact with the instrument, knowing,
Yes.
oh, this is how I play a scale on a saxophone versus we're specifically going over guitar because that's kind of our
Yeah,
expertise
the
here.
big difference being that guitar is so shape-based, we're not usually aware of what the notes are that we're playing. But on most other instruments, you must be aware of what your notes are of your scale. But you can take this method and apply it to any instrument. Yes.
Sure. And also, someone has asked, is there a link available for the book? Yes, improvisingwithknowledge.com. I assume that has
Which
links.
used to be the website, but now you can
Oh.
find it at gregstudleymusic.com.
Oh, GregStudley.music.com.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what happens.
All right. Believe it or not, we're
world.
halfway through. Whether you're halfway through or not,
Oh, yeah.
it's at the halfway point. Are we where you want to be in the lesson?
Exactly.
Okay, great. Then let's talk
Exactly.
about F. And by the way, don't forget that if you are just tuning in, we are doing giveaways for DLC in Rocksmith whenever Black Widow 9 wants to do so. She is weapons free with the codes. We have 3 giveaways over the course of the show, and we'll be giving away 3 Steam codes for random DLC throughout. But I did try to lean into packs where I know lead guitar plays a part. You know, when we
Very
did
cool.
the rhythm workshop last month, I tried to go with things that had interesting rhythm parts. But sometimes it's whatever I have left. So enjoy whatever I have left. All right, so we've covered A minor pentatonic and how that becomes a C major with the same position, same notes, same frets on the board, but in a different musical context with a different chord structure supporting it. And now you're saying, what happens if we go to F? I fall apart.
No, well, maybe not. Maybe not. So take it step by step. So find the note F on your low E string. Excellent.
I know F because it's only one up for me.
There you go.
And also, it's the most impossible bar chord to learn when you're... Oh,
So is B flat minor. I would agree. So
there's F.
There's F.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's your note F. So could you apply the shape that we just did using your fourth finger, since that was the major finger, right? Fourth finger was the one that we used. Could you apply the fourth finger onto that note and play a scale?
So you're saying find the F
You'd have to do
here.
it there. Right.
Yeah, it'd have to go up a whole octave because the F doesn't repeat. It's
And
once
this-
every 12 frets. So I'm going up to my fourth finger, my pinky is on the 13th fret.
Indeed, because this doesn't work.
Right? Yeah. Yes, because
so you know.
headstocks generally do not have frets on them.
Very good.
Travis Kindred's does on his
Oh,
bass.
well, there you
because
go.
he's got a flippy thing that he can go down to a low D. But,
So
all
yes,
right.
you'd have to be with the pinky finger, fourth finger up at the 13th fret, and now you're still positioned on the note F, and you have your fourth finger on it.
Right. My index finger is actually on the 10th fret.
Correct.
And that's, for better or worse, that's how I visualize the fretboard. I think
Sure.
about where's my first finger, then that's where I know where I am.
Which totally makes sense because that is our visual reference of our starting point.
Right.
So
But in the
that-
context of the music that you want to do, now it's more important where my pinky is because you've asked for the note F and I know where the note F is.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
can think about it that way. So something that seemed like it was going to blow your mind, you just played right through it. As long as you find the note you're looking for and apply the correct finger, you apply the scale.
Okay.
So if I play an F major chord,
Are you sure you don't want to do B flat there like I was doing?
I'll follow you, like I said. And all your notes are good, just like they were for C. Okay, now you're going to have to do a little brain work. Everybody ready to think? What minor are you playing? Now, all you have to do...
All I have to do is think 2 down, but I always get mixed up as to whether I'm going 2 up the scale or 2 down
all you
the
have to
scale.
do is look at your hand, and your hand will tell you. There it is.
Oh, I'm playing a D minor scale.
See, now, wasn't that easier than thinking 2 down or 2
Hell
up?
of a lot, yeah.
Your
Because
hand is your
I know that's a D, but just relationally, if this is an F and it's only a 1 fret jump to an E,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the 12th fret because I'm tuned to E standard.
Exactly.
Then D, the saddest of all keys,
It
is
is.
on the 10th fret. Yes.
So if I was to play a D minor chord, and you were-
Saddest of all keys.
Oh, you've got my chord right there.
Yeah.
And all these notes.
Exactly.
Shed a tear. Shed a tear. And it all works. Okay, so
No.
thank you.
If I was in drop D, it would have been great.
it would have.
Okay.
weren't.
No, I'm not.
So now some songs sit on one chord for the entire chord progression.
Right.
Great. Now you know how to apply this.
This was actually one of my follow-up questions I did not get to ask, which
Oh,
is
no.
why the hell do we have all these different keys? If it's just play that in on the 6th fret. Like, why do we even use why would you change any chords behind anything? Do you have to change the scales every time that you change chords in a song? Like, let's say it's a G to an A.
Mm-hmm.
So do I have to? Okay, I should be playing when they're playing the G behind me. I should be playing in a G or what would that be? Is it a B minor?
It would be an E minor.
It would be an E minor
because
because I'm going the wrong way again. I jumped
but
forward.
because it's a G chord. Think about it like a G major. I mean, now that you know the concept of the major pentatonic, it's better to just hone in on it as a major scale over a major chord. But
Okay.
it would be the equivalent of the E minor. Yes.
All right. So if somebody's playing a G D A progression, when I'm soloing over it, should I be thinking about playing just that root and playing in a G compatible scale, major or minor, whatever it may be? Or should I be thinking okay, when they change to D, the second chord in that progression, then I should be soloing in D?
There's two ways that people solo. This is actually perfectly tying in.
Okay,
So
good.
There are two main methods that people use for soloing in a song. They either solo in the key of the song, which, per your question, would just be, there are chords changing underneath me, but I'm staying in G. And I'm just going to use my ear. And
Tough
I'm gonna,
noogies.
Yeah, it's but that's also a style of playing. I mean, it creates a certain sound where you are playing the same notes as the chords are changing.
Right.
And it creates some extra tension on certain chords. It's not a bad thing. But for a lot of people, that's the thing. That's it. So what I'm suggesting is there's the other option, which is, yes, as the chords change, you change with them.
Is this playing the changes? I've heard this. This is a
is what it
phrase that's
means.
very common, especially in jazz. You got to play the changes, and that's what it is.
Yes,
As the
it
chord
is.
changes, your
You are
soloing
following
approach should
with
be
it.
following it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that sounds terrifying and difficult.
Until you plan for it. That's the idea. If you plan for how you get through a chord progression, it very much works. And this is part of the system that I built into my book, which we're going to try and apply.
Okay.
It's called the 3-step method.
I like that. That's
yeah.
because I've stepped 3 times before,
Yeah,
so
not
I feel
one.
like
Not 2.
I feel like I could do that.
It's 3.
Okay.
I had to get all the way through it. You couldn't stop me at 2.
No, I couldn't.
So here's the idea of it. Let's say you've got a chord progression that's going from A minor, which we know where it is, to F. Now, first of all, we're going to test out both approaches, okay? A minor to F major. Now, we already know all the notes of A minor are going to sound good on the A minor chord. We've already checked it. We know it works. But we haven't checked out what happens if you're playing all the A minor pentatonic notes while I'm playing an F major. Are we
Right.
going to find all good notes? Or are we going to find some bad notes? So we're going to test it because this
If
lets...
I had to guess, I would say there are fewer places where you're going to find good notes. Just if you're not... Right now, my sandbox exists of 2 safe zones. The A minor sandbox and the C major sandbox, right? So if you say, all right, now we're in F, then I would assume that the further you stray, the less sonorous it becomes, the less
Pretty much
compatible.
Once you go outside of that zone, you get dissonant notes.
Right.
But it's good to find out really okay, well...
How dissonant?
Yeah, how
Okay.
bad is it going to be if I just play A minor the whole time?
Okay.
So here's your F chord.
All right. And I'm going to try soloing an A minor over it.
I think you should assess every note like we did before.
Okay,
Because
all right.
then you're really going to tell, is this good or is this bad?
All right.
What do you think? First note.
It's okay.
It's an okay note.
It's
not a bad note. It's not like an
That's
amazing note
also
either.
quite nice.
That's a nice note. I would agree. And believe me, when you play bad, you're going to know
I was
going to
say, because this isn't that
not
bad.
that bad.
It feels like it's in the ballpark.
Yeah. How's that note? Would you want to hear that as your...
Only in
As you-
passing.
Only in passing?
Only to resolve, because it's a half step down from where my brain wants it.
And that's because
to
your
be,
brain wants it to match a note
to,
of the
to match
chord.
the root, right?
Yes.
That's an F.
And so what we're
So this
finding
is E
so
flat.
So there's a nasty note there.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really... It's not
Yet
very
I've heard
compatible
this
here.
note used effectively, like in vocals and stuff.
Oh,
you
it's-
know, as a passing tone.
Yes, it's not a note that you... So one thing to recognize with all of this is there are no bad notes.
Just
you can
questionable
play-
contexts for those
Yes,
notes. Okay.
You can play any note you want to if you play it the right way.
Okay.
So a great way to think about it is A minor chord. You could literally play every single note. If
Because
you-
you're linking it with those notes with the notes that do sound satisfying
you
to
have
us
to
in the
combine
Western
them
scale.
in the right way.
Okay.
The great thing about using the pentatonic scales is you don't have to do that extra effort of how do I include these notes that aren't going to sound as good, because
You
they're
just
just
remove
gone.
them.
They're
You
gone.
only play the icing notes
Yes,
on the cake. Okay.
exactly.
So now we've almost crashed a plane. We've fallen down the stairs, and now we've got a cake. So I like.
I'm getting hungrier by that.
This is great. What, are you
I
get
believe-
hungry at plane crashes?
No, I just believe we started with donuts a few weeks ago.
Oh, did we? Oh, we did. Oh, that's right. Greg has still not received his donuts. This is Greg Studley, ladies and gentlemen. He's one of our note trackers here at Rocksmith. You are watching Rocksmith Encore, which is our bonus stream where we get to talk about stuff outside of the realm of regular DLC. And Greg happens to have a history as a guitar teacher and also has a specialty in learning how to improvise. So what you have stumbled upon is him attempting to teach me how to improvise and use some of the knowledge that I already have in a context that I didn't know I could use. So we've talked about the A minor scale, which is a very popular and bluesy sounding scale. Many people, honestly, I've plateaued. I learned A scale, and I said, well, that's all I need. So it's a really good starting point. I think that I am representative of a lot of people that are watching because they're like, well, sure, I learned how to do that one thing.
But you actually learned two. You just didn't
But
know that you would learn two.
I didn't know that I could apply it to this other context and have it. But actually, I'm most intrigued by what you just went over, which was moving the A minor shape over an F chord. It does create some bad things, but at the same time, it kind of felt good to me because I felt like it was going somewhere, like it was something I
Sure.
could build on. So that was the evil note.
I mean, there are worse notes you could play, right? But that one, it has a lot of tension in it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of tension and when you build tension up, you need to know where to release it. So you knew that note needed to move up to
Move
release
up just
the
a
ten-
little bit. And
But
I
if
wasn't
you-
exactly sure where it was going to go, but I knew if I bent
Right.
it, it would probably wind up somewhere safe.
Right. Now, if you arrive at a tense note and you don't know how to release that tension, it just sounds like a bad note.
Right.
When you resolve the tension, everything's okay in the end.
Okay.
So,
It's a journey at that
It
point,
is.
not
Yeah.
a crash. And
Yes.
that's the end of your trip.
yeah, it's like you took a nap on the plane, you woke up and you were there.
Right.
You're good.
Yeah. As opposed to you took a nap on the plane, you woke up and realized you were the pilot.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be bad.
yes.
So
Yes, it would. man.
okay. So you're saying that this same shape that I've just learned has an application over F, just a more discrete use of it.
Yes. Now, the issue is when you're having multiple chords changing, unless you do a lot of studying on this, you're never quite going to know where the good notes and the bad notes are until you play it. And then when you play it, you have to react very fast to resolve that tension if it exists.
Right.
But if you switch your scales with the chord, you know where you are in the chord progression the whole time. It's like you don't wonder, oh, what chord are they on right now? Because you're on the same one. If they're on the A minor chord, you're on the A
You're on
minor
the A
scale.
minor, so it's easy for
when
you
they
to
switch
resolve.
to the F major chord, you're on the F major pentatonic scale.
Okay.
And you know where you are the whole time in the chord progression, which means the chance of you overplaying past the solo sections now is pretty much gone.
Okay.
You'll know right when it's going to stop because you're following
Because
it
you're
the whole
following
way.
along.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the whole idea of the knowledge, the improvising with knowledge, as opposed to improvising with guessing.
Right. which is honestly how I always thought it was supposed to be done. Or
Sure.
I assumed that there was a total mastery so that if you are and tell me if this is common or weird or what, but the chords are changing behind me and I'm in A minor and then the chord changes. So I figure I have to stay in this box but just make different choices.
You could, but then you're not really staying in the box after all, are you?
Right.
You're creating a new box.
But I assumed that I had to be aware of what box I was entering into. Oh, this is Dorian, this is Lydian, this is whatever else the other fancy names for all the scales are that you can practice in session mode in Rocksmith. But I assume that some people do play that way, where they think, yes, okay, well this pattern is related to what we're about to change to. So that's where sort of the mastery of improvising comes in, is that you actually do know where you are for all your various different things with a lot of study and a lot of practice. But you're saying that as you learn that, you can still fake it while you learn how to make it.
Yes, very much so. Because your assessment of knowing how to manipulate the shape so that it fits the next chord is very true. But you don't have to have multiple shapes in order to solo over multiple chords.
See, okay, growing up, we have these posters. Take a look at all these scales. You must learn all the scales, and they show you, like there's 12 different scales or there's a million different scales. And I'm just thinking, so to play guitar well as a lead guitarist, I have to memorize that poster, and I have to know where I am at any given time. That's what's always made improvisation very overwhelming to me. I just didn't know that it was okay to sort of like take a small chunk. There's this sense of this is all you need to know, but you need to know all of it.
No, you can get to that with a lot of practice, and it's a good place to get to.
Sure.
Then you're very knowledgeable, and you can solo over lots of things. But I'm going to show you a way that you can take what you already know and just move it as needed.
Okay.
And literally move it as needed.
Okay.
So if we're going to go from A minor to F, we're going to start at fret 5.
Yeah.
And then when I switch to the F chord, you're going to move up to what you're going to visualize as fret 10.
I'm going to visualize fret 10 because it's
works.
the D, because that way I'm thinking my pattern is anchored on where my index finger starts.
Yes.
And that's okay.
That's
right? That's a normal way to see it.
Yes, that is your anchor point. But another way you could play it is, and this is where we're going to work in this whole 3-step method, is I'm going to have you play the note A when I'm on the A chord. And then even though your hand's going to move up to fret 10, I'm going to have you play fret 13 where the note F is. So you're actually not just going to acknowledge where your hand is. You're acknowledging what the root is of the chord that I'm playing.
All right.
And therefore, we're going to be locked in very, very tight with this whole idea. So let's just take it like a really casual context, like 4 bars of the A. And then so it's not moving fast or anything. And when we move to F, you're just going to hit that note F and
then take off then again from there.
No, don't even take off from there yet.
Oh, all right. Just play out.
No, literally, it's about step 1 is where does your hand go?
Okay.
Because if you don't know where your hand goes, you just can't solo. So where is your hand placed at any point in time is the first step of soloing. Okay. So here's your A minor. Actually, we don't even have to do this in context of time. It's more like, okay, there your hand goes there. Now I'm going to play an F chord. Where does your hand go? Now if I move back to an A minor, where are you going to go? And then if I move back to an F, now you can even do this on the high string. You can do this on the high E string as well. So think about it like if you're starting up here as your starting point, you're still playing a root. And now when I move to F, you're still playing a root. So at this point, you should be like, okay, I understand my hand placement.
Right.
So now step 2 is, okay, play the scale that you're going to be applying to that hand placement.
Okay.
So in this context, I'm going to play the chord, and you can just run each one of the scales, and then you can run this one. And the best way to run each of the scales is to start it from the same root that you just played.
Okay.
So for the people watching, when you're doing A minor pentatonic over the A minor chord, you want to start with your first finger because that's your root. When you switch to F, you're going to want to start with your 4th finger, your pinky, because that is now your root.
Right.
Even though your shape is identical, you want to acknowledge now that, okay, I'm not on D minor.
Right.
I'm on F. And so if you play that note first, it solidifies that in your head.
Okay.
As opposed to solidifying.
A general rule of thumb is lead with the root note.
Scales start from the root.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So again, we'll do this out of time context.
Sure.
But this way you can just play through the scale as I'm playing the chord. And now I'm going to switch to F, and make sure you start from that note F, because that's the key factor. Nice. There it is. Exactly. And if I'm to switch back to A minor, there it is. Now just for fun, when we switch to F, start from the high root. There it is.
Sorry, actually did lose my place there. I was like, oh, I am not.
Every flight has turbulence.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now, at this point, we've got 2 chords. We've got 2 scale placements. Now we're gonna put it as if you're soloing over it.
Okay.
Which I have a feeling when we walked in the door today and I said you're gonna solo over an A minor chord and then an F chord, you would have been like,
oh yeah,
how?
no, yeah. I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, Greg. I want you to have reasonable expectations. That's part of my job as a community developer is to set expectations of the audience. So
a fair question for you then is, knowing this scale that you started with, is your hand actually doing anything different than it knew how to do?
no.
Right.
I mean,
And
realistically,
that's
no.
why-
It's just how I'm thinking about how I'm using my hand
Yes.
and what choices I'm making on purpose.
And that's why you already had everything you needed. You just needed to know how to use it.
okay.
That's why I was saying, you're like, oh, I haven't soloed much. I know this one scale. And I'm saying, if you
That-
know that one
that's
scale,
enough
you can move it.
to
and
start.
therefore, you can play it through a set of chords.
Okay.
So
So you're
this
going
time
to
I'm
play.
gonna-
Is this step 3?
This is step 3. This is where
All
you
right.
improvise. This
is
is
where I actually
This is where you
improvise.
apply what it is you just
You said
trained
when we
yourself to
planned
do.
this, you said I'm going to start you out with stuff that you already know, and
Yeah.
then by the end, trust me, you will be able to do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you believe in me. But this is so funny because now we're at that moment,
And I wasn't lying
and I'm
to
like,
you.
oh God, he's right. I think I can actually possibly do this, which
Oh, you
I
can.
did not expect. Okay,
Ready for it? We'll go 4 bars on each one. So
Sure.
I'll give you a count when the chord's about to switch.
Sure.
That way you don't have to actually keep track so much.
well, great. Thanks for
Hey,
not taxing my
No,
brain.
this is all, when if you haven't done this stuff, it sometimes is like
Okay.
a lot to think through. So
Sure.
I'm happy to give you the count in for the chord switch. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your F. Nice. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to A minor. Nice.
of course, I am staying on the low.
Doesn't matter. That's your solo. 1, 2, 3, 4, F. There you go. Now you're transferring to the high notes.
I tried because I don't know.
Nice.
Well, you didn't. I mean, you were still in F, so.
Oh, that's okay. But that was great. You were just you.
I mean, it's a little ham-fisted. It's a little just sort of, follow the pattern exactly every note. I'm not skipping notes. I'm not sort of
You don't have
trying
to.
to do different phrasing things or trying to mix up.
The important thing was
much.
at this. It sounded now like you were playing the same song that I was.
Right.
'Cause
Totally.
we were locked in. My chord and your scale were totally locked to the point where they were working together to create the sound, as opposed to
I'm gonna
laying
play
down
my
some
thing
I'm playing some chords, and you go ahead and do whatever you're doing, and we'll meet back at the next verse.
Okay.
Which is a very different sound. Okay, so now we're gonna push it up a notch if you're ready.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Wait. Before we push it up a notch, can we check
do
for
it.
other
Yeah,
questions?
oh,
All right.
definitely. If there's good questions here, let's do it.
Let's take. Well, I can't promise that. But hey, what you're doing is watching me log into my computer while we do Rocksmith Encore, which is our bonus stream that we do once a month. We have a little bit of time left, and we probably have maybe one more giveaway. But what's the number one tool for saving yourself if you play a note out of key? Asks Raxa Hanks. So if you do find that you've goofed, how do you recover? Which is a fair point.
No, it's a very fair point. We're going to actually show you how this works.
Oh, I love it. See, this audience is in line.
Because you could ask, I could answer the question, but you probably wouldn't believe me.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to do. I want you to, we'll keep it an A minor for the
Please.
sake of what we're doing. So would you do me a favor and play an A minor chord? Now, I'm going to play a note that's going to sound very bad. I'm going to show you the trick to this. This note is what I would call a bad note.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Would we all agree here? Okay, now watch. If you find a note that's really bad, like this one, you have two choices to resolve it.
Uh-huh.
If you go up by a fret, you get this. Or if you go down by a fret. Both are resolutions. You
Right.
will always find that if you're on a really bad note, the next best note is either a half step up, meaning one fret up, or it is one fret down. So we'll even choose a different note. We'll choose this one's. Get ready, everybody. Go ahead and play it, Dan.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah. That's
God.
a rough one. Now watch. I'm gonna go a half step up from there.
All right, that works.
Let's go half step down from there, 1 fret down. So now we're going to put it in
dark and
context,
brooding
which
and-
is I'm going to play a solo and land on one of those nasty notes
and then
resolve it.
out of it. Okay.
And it's going to have a lot of tension when you do it. But it is a way to save yourself, since that was the question. How do you save yourself?
Right.
Is you move 1 fret in either direction. So give me a little bit of an A minor groove. So that was resolving up
But it sounded like it was intentional.
because I kept going. Now if you stop on see, it doesn't resolve anywhere. But if I resolve down, all you have to do is move 1 fret up or 1 fret down, and you will find a better note.
Okay.
And from there, you can keep going.
Right. And
is
you
the-
have 21, maybe 22 frets, so you're
Yeah.
okay.
Or there's always this one. If this is what I love up on stage. Pull your cable out really fast and pretend like something went wrong, and then like look around like, why don't I have any sound? Pick it back
ridiculous.
up, and at that point, everyone's distracted, and you are good.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's the sort of like ninja smoke bomb. Like if you desperately need to bail out, be
Yeah.
like,
I usually go with
somebody-
a strum.
oh.
Yeah, you start it with a strum, and then you just catch the cable right on your way.
so that's another move you can practice. It works very well on strats. You just,
Oh, it does.
yeah, because it's already angled, ready to go. Okay. What else would you like to cover?
I don't know if there's another question, but I was going to push this
There
up a
is
level.
not.
Okay, then let's push it one more notch.
All right.
I'm going to give you a 4-chord chord progression.
Yep.
You sweating yet?
I can if you'd like.
Okay, so here's where it works. A minor chord,
Yep.
C chord, D minor chord, F chord. Now, just in context, that sounds kind of heavy to work your way through.
No, I recognize it as a song.
Oh, but would you know how to improvise over it? I mean, that's the idea.
Not
is-
necessarily.
Because that's what we're not playing the chords here. You're going
Right.
to solo over that chord
Oh,
progression now.
boy. Okay,
now you're sweating.
Now I am scared. Yeah,
so
this
let's-
is my nervous face.
So we're gonna plan it like we did the other one. We're gonna
Okay.
do 3 steps. So here's what you do first. I'm gonna play the A minor chord. You play the root of the A minor pentatonic scale.
There I am.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go to the next chord, which is a C major. You now go to the. Oh, you see where this is going now?
Yeah.
Oh, not
Yeah,
so
I
scary.
remember. I
Okay, that
remember
wasn't
there.
so scary.
No.
Okay, now we're going to D minor. And now we're going to F major. Well, look. 4
It's the
chords.
4 chords,
exactly the same as
4
what you
root
already
notes,
practiced.
and it's the same shape in the same 2 places that we've already been playing for the last hour.
And you already called that this is actually a chord progression that's used in a song.
Yes.
So it's very applicable that this could happen, and this is how you would deal with it.
Right.
You go, okay, look, first scale's got to go in this spot. Got it. Second scale, when the chord changes, oh, look, I'm on major. I'm in the same zone here, same finger pattern. Okay, now we're switching to D minor. I got to move up the neck. I'm in 10th position, but I got my scale in place. And now we're switching to F. I'm already there.
Right.
So we just went from 2
So
chords
it's really
to 4.
To 4, and it was a minimal move. Like in terms of where should my hand be, which again is a panicky question that you ask yourself when you're new at this, is just where it already is in 2 of these cases.
You got it.
It's just a question of calibrate your head to this is the safe space versus that's the safe space.
You got it. So I'm going to play those chords. We
Okay.
get 4 measures apiece.
All right.
And I'm just going to call out what the next chord is. And
Okay.
you just remember,
And
your
I will
A minor
just
and your C are right here.
Shift.
And your D minor and your F are right up there.
Okay. And
You're
it's
good to
okay
go.
that I'm sort of bending and stuff
To-
like that.
yeah,
in between.
that's-
that's still valid.
that is
because
you
that is also
playing.
creating
Yeah.
things that are outside of the scale, but they make
Yes.
it interesting because they are built to resolve to something that is in the scale. So
Yes.
that's okay to sort of add spice.
A good thing to realize about bending is normally, if you're bending the notes that are best bent, we'll call them, you're bending to another note in the scale. So it's almost like you have a correct note, you create tension, and then you resolve the tension when you arrive at your destination.
Okay.
So by doing
right.
that, it's totally acceptable, and it creates a great stylistic thing for guitar, because I play bass and keyboard as well and piano, and there's that one thing about piano that just doesn't grab me, and it's I can't move those notes. Those notes are where they are.
They
I
are.
cannot
That's
give it
true.
a.
I was going to say
I can't do it.
synthesizers
I
have
can't give it
that's
one of
why
a-
they have the pitch wheel so that they could offer keyboard players that kind
Yeah.
of expression, but that wasn't there. It's never there on a piano.
Those little in-between notes are some of those things that make the guitar different than all these other instruments that people like to play. And, like all those little microtones that you hear on that bend,
that's where personal expression comes in.
It very much does.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so 4 chords and
you're
going to
solo over all 4 of them.
All right. I'm going to solo over all 4 of these chords.
I'll buy you a donut.
It always comes back to the donuts. All right.
All right, here we are on it.
Let's try.
1, 2, 3, 4, A minor. Coming up to C major, same spot. Coming up to D minor. Nice.
I missed one, but I did resolve.
That's okay. Coming up to F major, same spot. Good. Back to A minor. Here comes your C major chord. Nice. That was good to hit that root right on time.
I was trying.
Yeah. You don't have
like,
to start at a root, but it sounds good when you do. Here comes your D minor. Nice. Also a nice touch with the multiple notes there, yeah. And here comes an F chord for you. And now we're going to resolve it on an A minor, so choose that best resolution note on the A minor. 4 chords. You just improvised over the whole thing.
I did. And
you had to use one finger pattern to do it,
right.
as long as you knew where to move it.
But just the awareness. And I mean, I was actively thinking, like, where do I want it was really like I'm scared because, okay, in my head, the easiest root note to remember is the low E.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's great to start from.
And then I was like, okay, well, it's the same pattern here as you brought up before.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I don't remember.
But as you would keep applying this method, you'll find those notes and where those middle roots are. The middle roots are always harder to spot.
Right.
But with practice, you recognize them just as easily as you're recognizing your minor root that's in the middle.
Because I felt like, a
scale.
couple of times I was scaling, I was soloing, and I'm in the middle of that scale, and I'm like, I'm going to just dive back to home base on the low E. But it would have probably been a simpler and nicer transition to hit the middle root note in that scale, just because I didn't have to travel as far musically. Sort of like if I want to stay in that neighborhood, but I felt like, oh, okay, no, that's where I have to go. I have to go back to A minor and I land.
You know what's fun though? There's another little trick you can use as far as kind of transitioning between them. Mm-hmm. One of the smoothest transitions you'll get is to stay on the same string.
Right.
So if you're here, A minor.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is if I'm,
and then you want to just transfer, and you're like, oh, D minor chord's coming up, and you transfer your hand right into that shape. It works out very well. And because you're using the same shape, you even transfer with the same finger. So if you were on the 3rd finger there, your 3rd finger probably land up at the 12th fret. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. But, all right.
Yeah, essentially you can take your fingers and slide into the next, the
it's
next
so funny.
shape.
It's like I'm looking at it, and it still didn't dawn on me. Like, no, the 10th fret is still where my first finger is anchored.
Yes, very much so.
But I can transition to something in the middle of that. Okay. Neat.
You ready for one more level?
Sure.
Can you take one more?
I guess I think we have to.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do different. You don't have to do anything different.
But I just have to listen to you.
You just have to listen to
and
what I'm
follow
doing.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
All right. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
What the hell?
I'm going to give you that.
What's
same
the worst that can happen, Internet?
And I'll tell you what we're doing afterwards, though.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the C. Here comes your D minor. Here comes your F. Good. Now I'd like to tell you what you just did.
Yeah, I
you
had
just
no
played
idea.
over an A minor 7, a C major 7, a D minor 7, and an F major 7.
Well, I heard they
you
sounded.
just played jazz.
I was going to say they sounded much jazzier, And I was like, oh, I know he's playing variations on these chords, and it felt more interesting. It felt more
But
sort of
everything still
vibrant
works.
and alive. Yes.
The minor pentatonics and major
But I was
pentatonics-
playing a blues scale.
Exactly.
Right.
But I wanted to show you.
You
just-
got your jazz into
Yeah.
my blues.
I just want to show like how far this can take. Like,
Right.
For a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't like jazz is.
Seventh chords. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guess what? This one scale applies over all of that
A lot
just
of
as well.
things.
I mean, I won't say that you can, if you're using minor and major pentatonics, you are now playing jazz. You are a jazz musician.
no. But you can-
It's like you don't have to fear it. You can
Right.
start to take it on in a context that makes sense to you.
Right.
You don't have to get all the Mixolydians and Dorians
Right.
and all of these down. You can start at a.
But I can
different
ask my
level.
doctor if Mixolydian and Dorian are right for me.
You
Yeah,
should.
no, I mean, it suddenly sounded like, wow, he almost knows what he's doing. And it was because you were throwing in more interesting accompaniment.
Yes, but if you're improvising for more than 4 hours, you should call your doctor immediately.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you have,
Yeah.
there's no way to top that joke.
Nope.
It's perfect. Okay, let's take a look. If it's okay, we'll take a look and see if
Definitely,
there's any other
definitely.
questions that have come in. Yes, and I have one from Sombrez that says, is it okay to end on any of the other notes in the root chord? Like instead of resolving on an A, could you resolve to an E or a C?
Yes, you could. Think about it like the A is the note that will give you the best resolution because it is the root.
Okay.
The third and the fifth, in this context being the C and the E, are also chord tones. So they will give you a better resolution than any of the notes that are not chord tones. So you can think about it like a bit of a hierarchy, where you have your root is your ultimate resolution. Underneath that, you have your additional chord tones, which in most instances you'll find are your third and your fifth. And then under that, which, by the way, those are all the notes that are highlighted in session mode. So you can find out what those notes are within the game. And if you go into the level below that, you'll find your additional notes, which, depending on the scale, they kind of vary. But those are the notes that are not going to sound nearly as resolved. So doing some practice with session mode and watching the screen to see where your highlighted notes are is going to give you your best understanding of where the notes are that are going to be the best ones to resolve to along with the root.
Okay. That makes sense because I've seen the session mode way of soloing, and of course the glowing notes
Yes.
change as the backing band changes, but that's what it's doing. It's pointing out this is your new root. These are and these are the other areas that you can go to at any time.
Yes.
But the glowing notes are the root notes in session mode. Right?
They are the roots along with the thirds and fifths. They are
Oh, they are-
essentially-
okay, so
they
it
are
is the
notes
thirds and the
of
fifths.
the chord. The notes
Okay.
of the chord are explained in there so that you
Okay.
can. Those are the notes that you can play them and you can hold them, and there's pretty much no tension on that note at all. You
Okay.
can just let it go.
All right. So it's up to you, Sombrez. You do what you like.
Indeed.
Anything else? I think we're actually at about time.
Then we timed it well.
And we timed it well. Did you get through everything you wanted
I
to get
did.
through? Even for me.
I did.
Because we talked about
We
this.
planned it out. It worked.
We talked about this, and it was like, I want to do this and this and this and this. And we had a big meeting. We're like, go slow. Dan's dumb. No, but it was more that the time will get away from you, and it's better to explain fewer things in more detail. And thank you, because I am surprised. I am legitimately surprised that's kind of all it is. It's just been a black hole of my knowledge,
Yeah.
and I've been so frightened by it, and it's this great unknown, and it becomes a bigger problem than it obviously is because I didn't have the context for, well, where do you start? Improvisation always means to me, make it up as you go along. But I've never had the sort of assumption that, but it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, like we're not sending you out into the woods to survive without any tools.
Right.
We're saying camp wherever you want, but let's show you how to build a site and and create fire and stuff like that. And that's kind of what this feels like. Is like you have the tools that you need to do this. You just have to, don't set the tent on fire. Like put the tent over here and put the campfire over there, and they can. They'll work fine as long as you know where to keep them separate, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel like this is. I didn't know that I knew that much, which is what you said it was going to be when we started out. It was the same
I was
when
hoping.
Sam showed me. He's like, "I'll bet you know more than you think you know," and I'm like, "No, I don't know nothing." And then he showed me I knew some stuff. So,
And it's true that this is this is the starting point because you have one shape.
For sure.
And similar to what my book would show is, you start off with one shape, you learn how to apply it, you learn another shape, you incorporate that one, you learn another shape, you incorporate it. And at a certain point, you're like, I can see scales across this entire neck.
Right.
And I can weave between them as needed. And then the comfort level just sinks in. It's just like, okay,
so what you're saying is,
I know how to do this.
Just because you've watched this hour-long show, there's still much more to learn in Improvising with Knowledge by Greg Studley at gregstudleymusic.com.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm good at shilling. Ask anybody that watches this show on a weekly basis. Have I mentioned our friends at Ernie Ball? We'll be giving away some Ernie Ball gear on Thursday. If you'd like to come back and join us for our next stream, that's the standard weekly DLC stream. I believe the word is out that next week's DLC, or rather this week's DLC, it's coming out tomorrow. It is the Ubisoft Music Song Pack. We have finally done what I think a lot of people expected us to do a long time ago, which is we've taken music from the Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rayman games, and we have arranged it for guitar. You'll be able to play around along with the original soundtrack recordings. We didn't re-record it. It's not a Boxsmith kind of thing. It's the recordings that you know and love. But arranged for guitar and bass by our note trackers. So we will be playing all of those songs on Tuesday. You will be able to buy them on Tuesday. It is a special price, by the way. It's $4.99 USD for all 5 tracks. You can't buy them individually, but if you're willing to take a risk on that, it's only $5 for 5 songs. And of course, that's because Ubisoft can pass the savings on to you. We will play those live on Thursday's live stream, which is here on Twitch at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. UTC. The thing that makes this week very special is not only will we play all 5 songs, so we'll be going a little bit longer, but we are going to give away more codes than we normally would because we're adding that extra song. And we're also going to have a very special guest in the studio, which is the Road Vikings. The Road Vikings is the band that actually created the Ballad of Clutch Nixon for Far Cry 5. If you've done any of the Daredevil missions, you probably heard this epic, screeching metal song all about freedom and defying death. And they're going to be here. Ragnar and Davey will be here in the studio to play their song in Rocksmith. So we may go a little bit longer than normal on Thursday, but we're going to make it worth your while, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But as for today, I think we're done. Thank you, Greg, for proving me wrong about me. I said, are you sure you want to do this with me? Because I have very low confidence in this. But this totally made sense, and I totally feel like, okay, as long as I don't forget everything that you just told me, it's not like I can't go back and watch the video and see somebody who looks uncannily like me learn how to play guitar all over again.
And you know where my desk is.
I do know where your desk is, yeah. And I guess I really officially owe you donuts at this point. So thank you. If you have other things that you'd like us to cover on Rocksmith Encore, it is kind of an open canvas. We like coming up with different things that you're interested in. Some people have asked for technique. We did a rhythm guitar workshop recently. We did a sort of primer on effects and what the differences are and how to set up your pedal board. Brian Pody disassembled and rebuilt a guitar better than it was when we got it. So if you're interested in sort of the construction and the setup of your instrument, plus we've had some history and science things as they relate to music and guitar playing, we're open to your ideas. Hit us up on Twitter at RocksmithGame. We're on Facebook at /Rocksmith. And, of course, we have forums at rocksmith.com. And we really do like getting into detailed discussions with you there. People do read our forums. People do respond in all of our areas. So if you have something you'd like to see or hear or have us follow up on, maybe we can do a second improvisation. Maybe Greg will do some other stuff later. We like to rotate folks. We have an idea for next month, but I don't want to say it because we may not commit to it. But I think it might be kind of fun to do it eventually. So, again, we're always open, and we want to do stuff that you find compelling and that you would find interesting. So let us know through any of our channels, and thank you for watching. Thanks to Tawny, Black Widow 9, for being our moderator and giving you all that free stuff that hopefully now you're going to go home and be able to practice some of this stuff yourself on your favorite songs. Try this in your favorite songs. Try figuring out if you know what the key is and you know what chords you're soloing over, well, then by all means, just go from there.
Definitely.
There's certainly a lot of classic rock that is based on this. Yes. There's many, many, many songs out there that may actually you might feel very comfortable under your fingers. So thank you, Greg. On behalf of Greg Studley and myself and David and Sam running the board and the tech this week, thank you very much for being here. We'll see you back here on Twitch on Thursday at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, and, of course, 10 p.m. UTC for our friends in the Europes. We will see you then. Bye.